Good evening, crafting friends. It's Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Fun Fold Friday. So happy that you're able to join me tonight on my live or on my... I'm excited to be here, so I hope you are too. So I thought I'd start with a little show and tell, and I went to visit with some of my fellow demonstrators and crafting fellow stampers, I guess I would say, and we did some stamping on Monday, on Martin Luther King Day. And so I wanted to share with you some of the things that we made, and so kind of fun. So here I have a sympathy card, and it is made with the heartfelt hexagon stamp set and punch, and the lovely leaves punch as well. Very simple card, and on the inside I just added a strip of designer series paper, and then we played with Leslie's balloon, the hot air balloon, and the lighter than air designer series paper, and so we made some fun cards with that. And so this was one of them, and here is another one that we made with that. I will post these on my Facebook page as time goes on so that you can see them, more close up, I guess I'll say. But they're just such fun cards. I'm using all the different things in the suite, the baker's twine that comes in the flirty flamingo, the lemon lolly, and the balmy blue. And then we used the softly sophisticated stamp set to make a card. And then afterwards I added something from the darling birds and dragonflies. And then this is a card that Janice had made, that she had based it off of one that Leslie had made. So just some fun things that I did this week around stamping. Well, tonight a double Dutch door fun fold card, and I am going to be using the Enduring Beauty bundle, and this is a really unique stamp set and bundle because it comes with the stamp set, of course the dies, that they're a little messed up right now, but the dies, and it comes with, and I've been playing with these so I haven't cleaned them, and it comes with a set of masks. So this is just the coolest bundle, and I'm going to show you one way that you can use this tonight. So let me get this out of the way so I can show you the card. Oh, and I'm also using the Perennial Postage bundle, but only the dies. Look at those awesome dies. They're so cool. All these different, they're like large postage stamps, but just very cool. So I'll be showing you how I'm going to be using that. And the card that we're going to make tonight, let me just set everything aside. Is this card. Isn't it beautiful? So it opens like this and like this. So we get this great, this is where the door comes in. And so when it stands, let me just make sure I have this where you can see it. It's going to stand like this, and the card, if I hold it down this way, the front flap is perched by those two bottom flaps. So when it's standing, it's hard to get a camera down to show exactly what it looks like when it's standing, but it is cool, needless to say. So what do we need tonight for paper? So you are going to need a scrap of basic white so that it can, so that you can die cut this label out of the Enduring Beauty bundle. You're going to need 2 pieces of crumb cake. This piece measures 4 1/4 by 9, and this piece here measures 2 inches by 8.5 inches, and I'm going to be scoring both of these pieces. And then for basic white, you're going to need a big scrap because we're going to be stamping a couple of things on this, and so the floral image is a pretty big one, so I have like a quarter of a piece of cardstock. And then I have this for the inside, and it measures 3.5 by 4 3/4. And then for designer series paper, I just love the Perennial Lavender paper, so I'm using that tonight. And you're going to need 2 squares, well, not quite squares, they're more like rectangles, 2 that are 2 inches by 1 7/8. And you're going to need a piece that, and we're going to use we're going to take double duty with this piece. You're going to take this piece here, and you are going to, this piece measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, but you're going to die cut the center out with the Perennial Postage die cuts. And so I wanted to show you how this could be cut from here, and we're going to be putting our piece of cardstock over it, the 4 3/4 inches, so you can see how it's going to cover that piece that we cut out. So don't waste your piece of designer paper, like designer series paper, like I'm going to do tonight. And then I have another piece of our designer series paper, and it measures 4 by 3 1/4, so 4 across, 3 1/4 down. And finally, I just took 2 scraps of the designer series paper. This one measures a 1/2 inch, and I think this one's, yeah, so this piece measures an inch across, and it measures a 1/2 inch across for this piece, and I'm just going to be using this. Let's start our stamping, because that is going to take the most time tonight to show you how we're going to use this stamp set. So I have put the large stamp on a large block, which is right here, and I'm going to ink that up with Memento Black. It inks up quite nicely. And then I am just going to stamp this right here in the center. I could stamp it a little close to the edge too, to have more room to die cut or do something else with it. And that's what it looks like when it's all. I'm going to move this over to try to block out most of that glare. Let's see. I can see the glare on my screen, but I can't see it too much when I'm looking down. Now, these dies, I am going to use some blending brushes with them. So I have our large blending brush, and you can see I've got a little bit of purple on that one. I wash mine. You might see other demonstrators. We have them in 2 sizes, so we have the smaller ones, and again, you're going to see some purple on this one because I didn't get it all out. But here are our 2 sizes that we have. You're going to see that some demonstrators don't clean them, and that's okay. I guess you could say I'm anal that way. I like my blending brushes to be cleaned. Unlike, obviously, my masks, because I have left those, because I've been playing with them all week, that I just left them colored in ink. So I was trying some different things. Now, the one thing that I do on my paper when I am doing this on any time that I'm using the masking, I tape my cardstock down, and I just use this Post-it note part without just the plain paper, and I do this just to make sure this piece is going to stay where it is. Now, this might be hard to see, so I'm going to bring it up close to the camera, and hopefully with my finger on it you can see it. I can move it around a little bit to see if I can get a better view. These are numbered, so each one is numbered, and so there's a number 1 right here up in the left-hand corner. Oh, I think you can see it better without my finger under it. And you can also see that there's a notch right here. So that gives us a way to be able to, let me just get this set up right, to be able to see where we're going to be putting this. So what I'm going to do is line up my flowers. So this lines up really well with the die, with the stamped image. I just want to turn it so it is. So I stamped my image a little bit off. And so what I do, and I'm going to show you my little trick too, that I'm going to do with this. So I am going to tape this down as well. Now, if I had a piece of paper down with this, I would mark my notch at the top, because then I could just line up my notches up otherwise. But as you can see, I kind of messed up a little bit with my stamped image. I should have lined it up first, so I could have had it so the notch could have been marked off. Okay, so I am going to start with I love purple, as many of you know. I'm going to start with the Highland Heather, which is the lighter purple, and I just want to make sure this is, let me just pick this up a little bit and make sure I just moved it a little bit, and I want to make sure it's lined up perfect again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take one of my blending brushes, and I am going to just go into my stamp pad, kind of rub the blending brush in, pick up some color. I'm going to start off of on my mask and move inward. And anytime I'm blending with my blending brushes, I start really light. So I don't put a lot of pressure on it. I'm just getting some color down onto my image. So let me just, and as I look at this, I want it just a little bit darker. So I'm going to go back in where it's really light and just add a little bit more color. These masks will rinse right off in the sink, so I don't have to worry about the purple getting all over the edge. But I think I like what I see. Now, here is my trick, and I'm sure other people do it differently. I'm going to start by taking this piece off, and I am going to line this up. I can see my leaves right through the die, so I can line it up pretty perfect without a problem. And I am going to, now that I have it lined up the way I like it, I'll just finish moving this top piece here to get it lined up a little better. I'm going to tape this side down. And then I'm going to pick this up. Whoops, it came undone, so let me just put it back down. This is just my trick when I can't mark my, with my, so I'm going to hold that there so it doesn't lift up. I'm going to lift the other tape die piece and bring it down. And you can see that it covers those leaves pretty good. So I'm just going to adjust it a little bit where I see it didn't. It's just over in this bottom corner. But it gives me a good idea where the mask should be. And now I can retape that down. I'm going to close my Highland Heather ink pad, and I'm going to take next my lighter green, which is Old Olive. And I am going to take a different blender brush. So I think for this one, I'm still going to use a large one. So now I'm going to ink it up. You can see I have the green ink. And again, I'm going to go softly, start on the side. Even though there's a lot of ink on my brush, I'm just going to keep going softly until I get some of that ink. I can come in for some more. I moved that in one spot, so I'm going to have a little mistake, but that's okay. Because it's a handmade card, right? Okay, so I'm going to lift this piece up and look at the magic. Isn't that beautiful so far? It is so cool. So now what I'm going to do is take the next part, which is the floral image again, and you can see that even if I don't have it lined up, how easy it lines up on the stamped images. So I'm just going to make sure I have this where it needs to be. There we go. I don't want to see any white showing, but I can see some, so I'm just going to move it a little bit. You usually start with one flower and get it set, and then move it in. Bring it down and up. It's a little harder. I should have continued doing what I was doing. There we go. Okay, I'm getting it lined up now. Oh, there we go. That looks good. So I'm going to tape down my stencil, again, my mask. And now I'm going to use my gorgeous grape ink. Like I said, the magic is going to be in the reveal. So this one I'm going to use a smaller brush because I don't need to go, they're not, the places that I'm going to be going over are not as big. So again, I'm going to start off and I'm going to go over each one of these areas. Oh, it's going to look so nice. I love these brushes and what they do with ink and how they blend the ink so nicely. I have 6 of the large ones and 3 of the small ones because, like I said, I wash mine and I'm okay with that. So I don't, I use them over and over for different colors. Look at that. Is that gorgeous? Isn't that just beautiful? Okay, so now we're going to put the next one over. And like I said, if I had had my, if I had put a piece of paper under here and marked it with the notch, it would be really easy to line up quickly. So I'm just going to make sure I've got that it looks good before. Luckily, I have some little vines here to stems that I can use to line it up. So now I'm going to put the tape back down. And I'm going to use, this is one I had before, this brush, that's why it's pink. But I just want to use the little one again. And this time, I'm actually changing what I used garden green last time. But I think on this one, I want to try the shaded spruce. So we'll see how that looks. So I'm just going to go over each one. Garden green, old olive, and shaded spruce are all in the same color family. So I'm pretty confident this will look really nice. The garden green was just really, really dark. But in a good way. I mean, it wasn't dark in a bad way. What I love the most about this is probably the area that I am the least confident in with my stamping is coloring. I just am not very confident at all. Masks just make it so unbelievably easy, which is so great. Okay, here we go with the big reveal. Oh, I do like the softness of that. It's really pretty. Okay, so now next I'm going to do these centers with the centers, and I'm going to do some yellow. Just going to line these up where they need to be. And my friend Leslie did some black centers, and they looked pretty spectacular. But I decided I wanted to go with the crushed curry. And instead of using my blending brush, I actually used a sponge dauber. Thank you, Joyce. I agree. And so I'm just going to take my sponge dauber and just rub right over the area. And since I'm going over all the stamped black and all the different colors, I'm going to really put down some ink because I want it to show, but it's not going to be this, it's not going to take away from the whole colored image. Okay, now for the big reveal. Look at this beautiful, beautifully colored image. With the blending, it's all blended beautifully. It has the highlights and the lowlights. I just love it. So I want to show you, in my original one, I went really light with doing the colors. And since I don't usually cut things out on live TV, I have already colored and cut one. And this one is with the garden green. So you can see the difference between the spruce and the garden green. I don't know which one I like better, but I like them both. One where I only put the masks down. And that you really have to make sure you have a way to line up that notch. But I did it with the yellow, and this is how it turned out with the same colors. I think what I loved about Leslie's the most, she did black on this, and I really liked that contrast and the sharpness with the black. So I think that's how I would change that. Okay, well, we've got our image colored and cut out by the magic of TV. Now let's start putting some things together. We do have one last thing to stamp, and we're going to stamp that in the Gorgeous Grape. So let me just go grab that. We're going to stamp our, I'm getting ink all over my hands, so I've got to be careful. We're going to stamp that right on this tag. So let me just get that so you can see it. Maybe what I'll do is put down I've got to figure out a way to angle my light so that this is just not, it makes me a little crazy to have my light there. So we'll put this all over here and put our stamped image right here that we're going to stamp so that you can see it. And I am stamping Holding You Close in My Heart. Beautiful font with this stamp set. So I'm going to just stamp that a little over to the right so I will have some room to put some butterflies. So there we go with that. So now all of our stamping is done for the night. And we can just start building. All right, so first things first. Let me just get my notes back open. We are going to, so this is the 4 1/4 by 9 inch. And I am going to score this on at 5.5 inches. So I'm just going to bring out my paper cutter and score with that tonight. So I'm going to bring that over to 5.5 inches, put my cutting blade up to the top, and I am going to take my lighter gray and score with that. So there is that one. And then on my piece of cardstock, I am going to be scoring at 2 1/8 on both sides. So I am going to go here to 2 1/8, and then I'm going to turn this around and do 2 1/8 again. Okay, now we're ready to put this together. Okay, so let me grab a bone folder. We are going to fold this. This is actually going to be the top of our card right here. Okay, and these are going to be our Dutch doors. And this is going to actually be attached to the bottom of the card, and this will close like this. Okay, so I am going to actually use my multi-use glue, my white glue, or I sometimes call it my green grip glue, because I want to have the ability to adjust this. And if I use my Stampin' Seal, which you all know is my favorite adhesive, but I truly believe you need to use the best adhesive for the project. And for this one, I want to have that little bit of ability to move this into place so that it, because you can see I went over a little bit, so I want to be able to move that all the way to the edge. So because it's the glue, though it does dry pretty fast, as you can see, I can make those little changes. There we go. That looks so much better. Okay, so to get this started, we are going to start putting our pieces of designer series paper right on the front. So let me grab my snail, and I am going to have to fill this up before tonight's project is done. But I love this paper. It is just so pretty. Didn't center that, so I'm going to do this differently so I can make sure it's centered and not, when you're looking at the crumb cake on the crumb cake, it makes it challenging to look at. So let's get this piece. I still think I'm a little off on this, but that is going to be okay. So there's our front of that piece. Then I am going to take my inside piece. This is going to go right in here. So I want to make sure that it's high enough. And what I'm going to do with those scraps I told you about is I'm going to take this piece and I'm just going to run some adhesive down. And I like going a little bit above the bottom to have a little bit of white showing down here. And that's not as straight as I'd like it to be. I'm a perfectionist at heart, and the struggle is real. Okay, and then I'm going to take a piece of the plaid. I don't need to bring my adhesive all the way down, but I'm going to put this right in the center. And then I'm going to take some to trim that edge off. So it gives me a really nice looking piece to go in the center of my card. So let's add that. This is really an easy card to make. What took the longest tonight was coloring, but it is really worth the extra work. And then what I did, somewhere here, I have some, here they are, some butterflies. And I don't know if you noticed, I used, in my original card, I used 3 butterflies, 2 big and 1 small, on the outside. And then on the inside, I used a large one and a small one. So that's what I'm going to do on this one too. It just will make it really nice. So I'm going to use my Take a Pick tool and grab and have those flying in different directions. Now on the front of my card, I'm using another piece of the Perennial Lavender Designer Series paper. And it is going to go right up here. I love how it coordinates with the Crumb Cake cardstock. So pretty. And how, you know, the purple, this bottom picks out, just grabs some of that purple. And then our butterflies, our brass butterflies, then we've got the butterflies on the paper. It just all coordinates so nicely. Oh my goodness, I did this wrong in here. I forgot to put it on my piece of paper. We can fix it, and you won't see anything that stays stuck. I totally forgot about my background piece of paper. This is what happens to one when you are not used to driving in a lot of traffic and you have to drive home from Boston on a Friday. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to add a little more adhesive. What I was supposed to do first was layer this onto this piece of paper, but that was my plan, to put that Designer Series paper as a backdrop. And remember what I said, I would also cut my postage die, because it's smaller than that piece of white, out of that before I would do that. So now next, this I'm going to want centered on the front of my card. So I know I'm only going to be adding adhesive to this upper portion of my card, of this piece of Designer Series paper. Since it's only a piece of Designer Series paper, I really want there to be a lot of adhesive on it. So now I can center that, and it doesn't have any adhesive down here, so it's not going to stick. I could also, if I wanted, to put a piece of Designer Series paper here too, and even on the inside, I could do that as well, but I'm not going to do that today because I want a little more room than just here to write in this card. So now I am going to take my floral image and I am going to decide how I want it to fit on the front of my card. Isn't that just so beautiful? And I am going to do that with, and you can see that I didn't like my first stamped image, so I stamped it again. Yeah, I think I like it just like that. There we go. And now what I can do is add my greeting. And what I want the greeting to do is kind of be in between these two flaps. That's how I'm kind of measuring that. Just going to use some no dimensionals tonight. That's pretty unlike me. Okay, that looks pretty straight. And now I'm going to take some more of these brass butterflies, and I'm going to put a large one right up there. I usually I want to have an odd number when I finish a card. So we have 3 on the front and we have 2 on the inside, but that gives us our odd number of 5. And then I'm going to add another large one right here. And then a small one flying off in this direction. And that is this week's Fun Fold. So again, it's called a double Dutch door Fun Fold. When it stands, the double Dutch door is at the bottom, will hold up the card so it will stand and be kind of cool. Again, if I turn this over while it's standing, that's what it's going to look like. So you'll have that edge open and can see inside the card as it's doing that. It will close normally and it will fit in a standard envelope. So that's it for Fun Fold Friday tonight. I hope you join me next Friday night when I'll be back with some more new product. I'm trying to use all of my stamp sets before I use them twice. So this will take us a couple weeks to get through all my new stuff from the mini catalog. But I will be back Sunday night for Simply Stamping Sunday. And remember, will be week 3 of the Softly Sophisticated. Remember, Simply Stamping Sunday is when I only use stamp, ink, and paper. And no embellishments, nothing, no dyes, just back to the basics of rubber stamping. And of course, I'll be back next Friday night for Fun Fold Friday. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. Good night, everybody.